Good evening, everyone. Wow. Red days of the week. 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 There are 12 months in a year. Please listen and you'll hear. Months of the year. 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 January, February, March, April, May, and June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Months of the year. 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 Beautiful colors here and there. I see you everywhere. Beautiful colors. Beautiful colors. Beautiful colors, beautiful colors, beautiful colors. There's red and there's blue, orange and purple too, black and white and purple is so bright. Beautiful colors, beautiful colors, beautiful colors, beautiful colors, beautiful colors. Awesome shapes are all around us. They really are a must. Awesome shapes. Awesome shapes. Awesome shapes. Awesome shapes. Awesome shapes. A circle, a square, a hexagon, triangle, rectangle too. A sphere, a cone, a cube, and a cylinder. It's true. Awesome shapes. Awesome shapes. Awesome shapes. Awesome shapes. Awesome shapes. Please be my echo. Days, months, color, shapes. Days, months, color, shapes. Are only a few. Are only a few. Of the many things we learn. Of the many things we learn. All year through. All year through. Reading, writing, and math. Reading, writing, and math. Science takes us down a path. Science takes us down a path. Garden time is in the grass. Garden time is in the grass. We're the kindergarten class. We're the kindergarten class. Ready?
You want to use this?
Yeah, I'll use
Put the picture. Next we have Miss Helgens. She oversees K through 2. She has brought some speakers with her to describe more of what things they do in K through 2.
Thank you. I'm going to call up my little humans, and each child is going to tell you something that they've learned so far in kindergarten, first or second grade. First, I have Thomas Higgins Quello. Come on up, Thomas. Can you step up here? Okay. Thomas, hold up your picture. What have you learned in kindergarten this year?
Math.
Thomas is probably a future accountant.
Actually, I'm in 9th grade.
Next, I have Berkeley Hayes, who is in Miss Suarez-Riggs' kindergarten class. Turn the picture so they can see it and read the back.
Hi, I'm Berkeley, and I learned about in school, we learned about mammals, and my mammal is a giraffe.
Super. Next, I have Araya King. Araya is in Mrs. Leggett's class. first grade. Just read it. The cougars.
The cougars live in a cave. A cougar sleeps in a cave.
So part of first grade is learning about animals and classifying animals, and Araya's done a lovely drawing of that. Thank you, Miss Araya. Careful. Whoops. The other photo. Okay. Next we have Eva Mendez, who is also in grade 1. So Eva has a series of drawings.
I am writing physical characteristics of a snake. I am finishing up the characteristics of snakes. I'm turning facts about snakes into 4 sentences.
Okay, ready? Ready to come down? All right, ready? Okay, good job. Here you go. Next, I have Xavier Gomez from grade 2. That about
I learned matter takes up space. I learned spiders are not insects. I learned how to make cornstarch mud. I learned that some bugs are poisonous.
hold up the picture. Good job, Xavier. Thank you. And next, I have Amir Rosas. You okay?
Yeah. One thing that I learned was that you can mix cornstarch and water. I learned to be an expert at writing about bugs and that I am warm-blooded. And when your blood hits the air, it turns red, and I know even knots.
Good job, thank you. Amir is also in Miss Olson's class. And last but not least, I have Joshua Dunbar. Joshua, come on up. Joshua is in Miss Jones' class. Ready, Joshua?
I do circle time. I do officer Excel.
I am smart.
I'm smart and important. I am beautiful. I am myself.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you. On behalf of K12, we want to thank you for the opportunity to share with you this evening. There are some gift bags. We have ABC books from kindergarten for each person. We also have an animal, and then we have a collage. Everybody gets their own specific collage of students learning at Temple Hill. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Pearson. She oversees grades 3, 4, and 5.
Hi, I'm Maria Pearson. I oversee the loud ones behind us. We have a ton of fun in grades 3, 4, and 5 downstairs. Even though we're the middle children of the building, we make sure that we do tons of things to make things exciting and for them to keep learning. You don't want to hear me speak, so I'm going to bring up the real stars of the show. I'm going to start with my 3rd graders. First up is Isaiah King.
Good evening.
Too tall. Okay.
Good evening. We are in 3rd grade, the 3rd grade. My name is Isaiah King. I am in Mr. Myers' class. 3rd grade is a lot of work. Our teachers are teaching us to be more independent. We also do projects that teach us how important other cultures are. One cool project that I can't wait to do is the family recipe book that each class creates that gives us one recipe from each student in the class that represents their culture.
Next up is Raymond Eng. We have a lot of support here.
My name is Raymond A. and I am in Miss LeBron's class. In third grade, we learn multiplication and division. Our teacher is showing us how to divide using grouping and arrays. We use M&Ms to practice our division. When we are done with our math problems, we can eat the M&Ms. It is so much fun learning how to do math using hands-on activities. This also helps us see how math works.
Next up, Miss Adelina Colon.
My name is Adelina Colon, and I am in Miss Jordan and Miss Romanino's class. We also do a lot of cool science experiments. We just did an experiment where we made frost in the classroom. We used ice, salt, and a metal can. We learned that salt is a catalyst in this experiment. Do you know what a catalyst is? A catalyst is something in an experiment that is a necessary part of the experiment that speeds up a reaction. The salt was a catalyst because it kept the ice cold and made it even colder, which formed frost on our cans. It was so cool.
And last but not least, for third grade, Mr. Josiah King.
My name is Josiah King, and yes, that is my twin brother. I am in Miss LeBron's class. Another big thing that we do in third grade is go from learning to read to reading to learn. We are learning how to pull out clues from our characters and settings so that we really understand what we are reading. The third grade classes would like to present all of you with a bookmark that we made because we know how important reading is.
So there's a third grade bookmark in the bags that you'll be getting at the end. Our fourth grade students, first up, and there, I just have to say, we have students who actually came to support their friends because they were downstairs in the library getting tutoring. They knew that their friends were speaking, so they are here to support their friends, showing the family that support that we have. First up, Mr. Liam Tillman.
Good evening. We are here to speak about fourth grade at Temple Hill.
You're way too tall.
Good evening. We are here to speak about fourth grade at Temple Hill. My name is Liam Tillman, and I'm in Miss Sessions' class. We are the ones who already did great last year. Did you know that we...
Right here, we are the ones.
No, I already read that.
And I get corrected a lot.
Did you know that we had a 50% pass rate on the ELA exam and a 44% pass rate on the New York State math test last year when we were in third grade? That is the second highest in the district. Did you also know that we get to have lunch with our assistant principal, Ms. Pearson, on a rotating basis as long as we don't get in trouble?
Next up, Ms. Denise Cruz, who gave up gymnastics tonight to be with us. Good job.
My name is Denise Cruz, and I'm in Miss Faith's class. We plan on continuing with the foundation that we built in third grade and continue to learn and grow. Speaking about growing, most of us turned 10 years old this year. That's a double digit. That means that we will never be a single-digit age again. Talking about double digits, in fourth grade we also learn how to multiply and divide double digits.
And our last fourth grader, Mr. Levi Schwind. You're too cool, huh? I can't touch you.
My name is Levi Schwind, and I'm in this first class. In 4th grade, we also learn about animal adaptations. An example of an animal that has adapted to its environment is the tiger. Tigers are predators. Predators attack their prey. We are the Temple Hill Tigers, and we need the state test for prey, which means we are getting ready to attack the state exam. We would like to present each of you with a two-sided ornament that represents us as the Temple Hill 4th graders. One side is the number 10, which represents our double-digit H. The other side is a tiger, which represents our predatory nature and getting ready to attack our state tests.
Your ornament is also waiting in the bag. Our 5th grade students, first up, Miss Analia Colon. You don't need this. She's taller than me.
Good evening. My name is Analia Colon. I am a 5th grader in Miss Nicolini's class. In 5th grade, we start really long essays. We learn about narrative writing, persuasive writing, and informational or expository writing. We all wrote narrative essays that were based on fiction. Most of us chose to do our essays on Halloween or autumn theme.
Next up, Miss Isabella Rojas. You can stand up here. You can only be taller than me for a little bit.
My name is Isabella Rojas, and I am in Miss Hibble's class. I have been in the dual language program since kindergarten. Another thing that I can tell you about 5th grade at Temple Hill is that we are always working on something. Whether it is doing our math problems using PEMDAS and showing our work, or using the race strategy and highlighting important information when reading for context clues. We are getting ourselves ready for our next step, middle school. We have been taught that we need to work hard while also having fun.
Next up, Mr. Journey Gentles.
My name is Journey Gentles, and I'm in Miss Valentino's class. In 5th grade, we also work extremely hard to keep up with our grades and to get ready for the New York State Mass and ELA exams. We already did awesome last year when we were in 1st grade. We scored the second highest in the district in math and ELA. Last year's 1st grade did awesome as well. Did you know that they scored the highest? Number 1 in the district on the 1st grade math exam, and 2nd in the district on the ELA exam. Mr. Lopez and Miss Pearson got us pizza after the 3rd exam. And I convinced them to get us wings too. Because, I mean, who eats pizza without chicken wings?
True story. Next up, Miss Ariel Chester. Slow down. Go ahead.
My name is Ariel Chester, and I'm in Miss Del Monte and Miss Ford's class. We just started our research on ecosystems. We're learning about biomes, how plants and animals grow and survive. We're also learning about consumers and producers. At the end of the unit, we have to write a research paper on an ecosystem. As a school, we also have a huge push for increasing attendance. We have monthly celebrations for students that have perfect attendance. For the month of October, any student that had perfect attendance got a certificate, as well as ice cream. We also have a bulletin board as soon as you walk into the school that highlights all of the students that have had positive attendance for the past month.
And last but not least, for 5th grade, Miss Vanessa Higgins-Quello.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Higgins-Quello, and I am in Miss Seaton's class. Our teacher also told us about our big research project that we are going to do for the end of the school year.
We are learning about the countries in the Western Hemisphere. Our plan is to set up a Temple Hill 5th grade travel agency where we do research on our chosen country, including landscape, culture, and its people. This will be all presented on a tri-fold board. We hope that you are all able to come visit our travel agencies at the end of the school year. The 5th graders at THA would like to give you each a highlighter and a pencil because these are tools that we use daily to keep up our grades and increase our learning. The pencil reminds us to show our work, and the highlighter reminds us to pick out the important things.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the parents who brought the students out today for 3-5. Next up, we're going to show a video from our PTO. Our PTO is an integral part of the Temple Hill community. Ms. Jacino, our Temple Hill president, PTA president, was not able to be here. However, we do have some members of the PTO board here, Ms. King and Ms. Soto. They did make a beautiful video that shows everything that they do for us at Temple Hill because it does take a village.
PTO president for Temple Hill Academy. Please enjoy the video. So, the question at hand is what makes our school special? Well, when I think about that, I can name several. However, I'm going to speak on the one that involves what I do, and that is our PTO. I am starting my 10th year as PTO president, so I have seen a lot. When I think back, one of the first things that come to my mind is of our spirit here. Why, you probably are wondering? Well, I remember shortly after I started on PTO, the school was going into receivership, which was an unsure and stressful time for everyone. When I designed my first Spirit Gear shirt, it was fitting that I designed a shirt to represent what was going on in our school. So it was Restore the Roar, since we were Tigers. When we came out of receivership, it was Hear Us Roar. The following year, it was Tiger Pride. Then it became apparent that words in the back of our shirts were no longer needed, and it was just a ferocious tiger representing our resilience and strength. A little more about our PTO. Every year, we meet with Mr. Lopez and the administrators in August to go over our events for the upcoming year. I will tell you, this is not a 30-minute meeting. This meeting is long. We have a lot to discuss because our PTO is busy planning over the summer on how we are going to make the upcoming year a great one. Our mighty little PTO coordinates 10 after-school events for our scholars and families in collaboration with the school to provide fun, affordable, and safe events for our family. We are creating core memories for our scholars, promoting parent engagement, and community, which is letting our families know they belong. Our events consist of Back to School Bash, Trunk or Treat, which we see a lot of people, 2 paint nights, Winter Wonderland, Fitness Night, Family Dance, Vendor Fair, Game Night, and End of Year Celebration. We have fundraisers in school, such as Holiday Shop, Book Fairs, Dance-a-thon, Egg Hunt, in-school assemblies with Macaroni the Clown, and BMX Bike Show. We support our annual field day, provide spirit gear for our scholars who are participating in the spelling bee. Thanks to our fundraising, we have been able to add 12 additional swings for our scholars, giving us a total of 20 swings for our children to play on. I personally think we have the best playground in the district. Then, there are the little things we do which are more personal and are a big deal to some of our scholars and families, like making sure our students have the school supplies they need to have a successful school year. We have a closet with donated and purchased supplies for those in need, answering letters from Santa, and coat drives for those scholars in need. Those things are done quietly and respectfully. During the month of December, we do something a little more personal, which is coordinate by PTO but fulfilled by the faculty, staff, and some PTO members, which is the holiday bedtime stories, starting December 1st, going through the day before we return from winter break. Each night, a faculty or staff member goes live on our Facebook page to read a story to our scholars. The kids are excited to see and hear a story from one of their teachers, and being able to peek into their teacher's home and see them outside of the school setting is so powerful and creates a sense of comfort and helps build relationships. We also support our faculty and staff by doing events to boost morale, like stuffing the fridge with drinks and snacks, Thanksgiving pies, a wellness bar, a popcorn bar, donuts, and other thoughtful and fun ways to show our support and appreciation. There are many other ways we support our school. Sometimes it's just by showing up and lending a hand when needed. So now, I guess we are back to the question at hand, which is, what is special and stands out about Temple Hill Academy? To me, the answer is simple. It's our PTO. Thank you.
Next up, I have the honor and the privilege to introduce our 6'8" Assistant Principal, Mr. Dennis Class.
Hello, everyone. I am here to just introduce some of our 6th grade representatives. First, we have Hendrik Lopez.
Hi, my name is Hendrik Lopez, and no, I'm not related to Mr. Lopez. I'm in the 6th grade. I got a new phone over the summer, and I was so excited. But then when I got to school, I couldn't use it. That ruined my whole day. Every day, I have to put my phone in a yonder pouch. However, after the initial shock, I got used to it. For me, having a yonder pouch provides a better learning environment for the students. Now, without the distraction of my phone, I can pay attention more in class. And I actually talk to my friends, like face to face, person to person, not over text. As you can see here, we have a yonder pouch that puts out a ping once you press it, and then you put your phone in the socket, and once you connect it together, you can't open it unless without a magnet. Thank you.
Next, we have Brandon Rose.
Hi, my name is Brandon Rose, and I am in the 6th grade. We have different teachers for each of our classes. I also haven't been at Temple Hill since kindergarten. I transferred to Temple Hill last year at the beginning of 5th grade. Before that, I went to school at Bishop Dunn. I was super nervous to come to a new school where I didn't know anyone or even know the building. However, it was a very easy transition. I was welcomed at Temple Hill with open arms. I have made great friends and had an awesome 5th grade teacher. I felt instantly supported by my school counselor in 5th grade, Ms. Torres Pagan. Also, I have always been told to dress for the job that I want and not the job that I have. The job that I have now is a 6th grade student, but the job that I want is right there. Mr. Lopez, I'm calling for you. Now, as a 6th grader, I feel completely prepared for all the work that is ahead of me. Thank you.
Next, we have Nadia Salim.
My name is Nadia Salim, and I am the newly elected representative. Let's talk a little bit more about what goes through the mind of a 6th grader. First of all, we are always worried about our appearance and try not to be contentious about our schoolwork. Being that we have been raised with technology, we always use technology to communicate. I'm sure you have seen my classmates with their heads down looking at their phones. We text, we stream, we post, we tweet, and watch TikToks. However, when the Yonder Pouch was introduced, we didn't exactly have the most positive thoughts about it. would communicate with each other without memes and emojis. But we learned this totally new way of communication. It's called talking. Now in the cafeteria, you actually hear students talking, laughing, and looking at each other while they communicate. We also use our time in the cafeteria to play games such as Uno, Monopoly, Jenga, and more. To remember the 6th grade students at Temple Hill Academy, we would like to give each of you your own set of Uno cards to play with your family and friends. We hope that you find time to unplug from your devices and use the Uno cards to start some family communication of your own. Thank you.
I don't know how I follow that. So you heard from some of our children. We gave a survey to some of our teachers, and 93% of our teachers saw an improvement of academic performance, 80% saw an improvement in student behavior, and almost 97% saw an improvement in student engagement. The comments are there. One of them said, "I believe this policy is one of the best school-wide initiatives ever implemented. It has been great interacting with students again." And that's because all of you said yes. You gave us a shot. You said it was okay to run with Yonder, and the evidence is right here before you. We thank you. My educational philosophy is really simple. Build relationships and you'll increase student engagement. So here's some pictures of our students interacting with each other in the cafeteria. You even have our security workers and our cafeteria workers just interacting with them as they learn how to actually communicate with each other with something other than a cell phone. Lastly, I am a parent of a Temple Hill Tiger. My son is a first grader, and I had the opportunity to read to the first grade class on October 31st. And I can experience firsthand by looking at what my son goes through in the classroom, how we learn, we give, and we grow. Thank you. Next, we have Chase Burrell from our 7th grade.
My name is Chase Burrell, and I'm representing for 7th grade. Here's my poem, Transform. We are seeds. In school, us seeds learn. We learn how to do math. We learn how to read and write. We learn how to be better versions of us. We learn how to respect others and ourselves. We learn how to be better speakers. We learn how to make friends. In school, us seeds give. We give our toys to the next kid in line. We give our time to the teachers. We give our focus to our work. We give please and thank you to the lunch ladies. We give our kindness to others. We give donations to those in need. In school, our seeds grow. We grow from little kids to young adults. We grow in academics. We grow with our test scores and diagnostics. We grow with our friends. We grow and go to the next grade. We grow while our parents and teachers watch. We are seeds. With the nutrients called education, we transform into beautiful flowers. Thank you.
So you will all get a copy of that poem in your bag. And lastly, representing our 8th grade, we have Lucas Soto, Saharsha Thumala, and Jordan Harley, in that order.
As 8th graders, we strive to embody academic excellence in every content area. Each subject provides us with valuable insight and perspective. Our gift to you are plants. In life science, we learn how processes such as photosynthesis, transpiration, and respiration boost the growth of our plant.
In social studies, we learn about legislation that protects the environment and government organizations like the EPA, who are in charge of regulating such protections. En la clase de español aprendemos que las hojas son verdes y que regar una planta es una forma de decir gracias.
In Italiano, potremmo dire grazie mille per tutto quello che fai. In Algebra 1, we learned that if x equals carbon, y equals the sun, and z equals water, then x, y, z equals the growth of our plant. In ELA, we learned that the roots of this plant symbolize the beginning of our educational journey. Our roots will always connect us to Temple Hill as our branches grow into high school. We learn,
We give, we grow.
Each of you will receive a flower, a plant to represent our growth. Mr. Lopez. It's me. Once again, thank you, board members, superintendent, cabinet members. A great thanks to our families, our students that showed up today to support us today. We greatly appreciate you. Greatly support. We greatly appreciate your support. That concludes our show for you today. Thank you so much, everyone.
Wow. Wow. That's a hard act to follow, isn't it? I mean, so, that little guy's going to take Vinny's job very quickly. He's going to be there. He really is. So we're going to move on. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose. Matter made confidential under FERPA, employment history of particular individuals, employment history of particular corporations, matters leading to the employment of particular individuals, the review of program and placement of students with disabilities, and to obtain advice from legal counsel. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Duray? Yes. Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar? Yes. Mr. Levenstein? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron? Yes. Mr. Walker?
Yes. Thank you. We'll be back in a while, and I think I'm still reverting. We had a lot to discuss. I apologize. We're now at the section of the agenda for public discussion and comments on agenda items, and I'm going to combine agenda and non-agenda items. Please refer to the regulations regarding discussion and comments. Right now, no one has signed up. Would anybody like to speak? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Walker. You got 5 minutes.
Well, thank you. Changing the language from racism, quote, to, quote, hate, unquote, goes from being too specific to too broad. While a culturally responsive curriculum may expose racism, white supremacy, anti-Semitism, violence toward men or women because of their immigrant status, ageism, sexual or gender orientation, class, religion, or race, the object of a culturally responsive curriculum is broader than simply being a voice of social protest to stop hate. This hate-stopping language denies the fact that the curriculum consists of several canons of work that are worthy of study on every pedagogical level, and it's just as rigorous as you would find it anyplace else. Anyone who has lived in Newburgh for any period of time or who has paid attention to their neighbors may be aware of the diverse communities within our area. As such, universal themes in a culturally responsive curriculum like self-definition, assimilation, spiritual, psychological strength, the extended family would be more abundant, intellectually stimulating, and skill honing than, quote, to stop the promotion of hatred. Universal themes, conflicts, characterization would appeal more, challenge more, and educate a broader student audience. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items? We're going to continue. We're going to move on to our superintendent of schools, Dr. Manning Campbell.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President. Before I present my items this week, I would like to give 3 brief updates. The district continues to work with local law enforcement for their investigation about the shooting that occurred on our high school grounds on Friday, September 30th. Any updates from their investigation will come directly from the police department. The family and community engagement team has been hard at work, making sure our families have a very special Thanksgiving. Currently, on our website, you will find 6 different opportunities for families to share a Thanksgiving meal or receive supplies to cook their own feast. Last night, our team hosted a giveaway of turkeys and an entire box full of items for 135 of our NECSD families. Thank you for the hard work of everyone involved for making this holiday a special one for our families. Recently, we were presented with a special football from a school bus driver in the Middletown community, LaShawn Ramsundar. That ball is here with us tonight, so you can see the dedication and thoughtfulness shared with our students and our community. This Saturday, our NFA football team will compete in the New York State Championship semifinal game at 6 p.m. Game information can be found on our website. Dr. Sklarz, can you share the ball with our community? I mean, they can look. We can't see.
It's there.
It's there. Okay. It's all glittered and glammed up. Very good. Thank you. We'll post it on the website. You didn't? Okay. Mr. Shaw is coming to get it. It was a really nice surprise. They also presented us with a beautiful tray of cookies. We were totally surprised. Oh, Mr. Shaw, I thought you were going in the... Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Thanks, Dr. Sklarz. All right, so item 1, Mr. Forget will share information about item 3.1.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. I have one item to add to the agenda before we get to items 3.1 and 3.2, so I request permission to add an item to the agenda.
Would you tell us about the item, please?
It is a resolution to authorize the superintendent of schools to appoint Dr. Kathleen Farrell as interim owner's representative in connection with the district's capital project effective November 22nd, 2022.
I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda, please. Roll call to add, please.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Mineo? Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Doré?
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Doré? I'd like to request items 3.1 and 3.2 for consent.
Would any member like to separate out either of these items? Yes, sir?
We're at, I'm sorry, 1.4?
At 3.1, sir.
Okay. So we have no request to separate out anything? I'd like 2 points, all right, so we'll do them separately. Let's start with 3.3, because there's not an issue with that one. Would I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Point of order.
Yes.
What item are you voting on now, ma'am?
3.3.
Yeah, we voted on that one. That was the walk-on.
That
So
was
right
the-
now, you separated out 3.1 and 3.2, so you need to ask for a resolution to approve, put a motion on the floor for 3.1.
3.1. I have no clue where we are, sorry.
We need a motion for 3.1.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion for 3.1, please. Questions or discussion on 3.1? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Doré? Mr. Howard?
So now we'll move to 3.2. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Yes, sir.
I was just curious, didn't we bought some cameras a few months ago, didn't we? I don't know, is this all a related process that we're going through, or I'm just curious as to if this is related, if it's an expansion of something that was already started, or what?
Yes, this is part of something that's already started. This is part of the Smart Schools Bond Act. This is specifically for NFA Maine. The original request was for those in the main building itself. This takes care of the exterior buildings as well. So they're authorizing us to add this to that original contract.
Yes, Mr. Stridiron.
The funding source on this says capital fund, so it's not the smart bond. Is that correct?
I believe it is the capital fund, but I will refer to Ms. Roaring.
So the capital fund is accounted for in this, the Smart Schools Bond Act funds are required to be accounted for in the capital fund, which is why it states capital fund.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Doré? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? That concludes Dr. Campbell's items. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other items, Dr. Campbell?
No, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Forget. Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items for this evening.
Thank you. We're going to move on to my section. I have items 4.1 and 4.2. Would any member like to separate out any of these items? We're going to have a discussion on 4.1. You want to separate out 4.1? Please, thank you, Mr. Walker. So let's start with 4.2 then, because that seems to be easier. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
Second.
Questions or discussion on 4.2? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Doré? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein?
We're going to move on to item 4.1. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Questions or discussion? Mr. Walker?
Yes. Concerning,
Let's put your mic on. Thank you.
concerning the third sentence under the proposed thing, I think it's a little unclear, and I'm particularly interested in what will happen if teachers fail to meet the expectations concerning this curriculum. Will there be training? What will occur? I don't see anything like that there. I don't see anything that would say that our hiring practices would be affected except in a very general way. Now's the time for us to be very, very specific so that we can start to improve the culture that's already in our district.
So you're talking about the paragraph number 3, goal number 3.
Yep.
And for the public to understand, we also had another submission by Mr. Walker for item number 3. We do have a copy of it. Would you read that, please, Mr.
To engage, hone, and expand academic outcomes, social and personal skills, the NECSD will continue its oversight role to evaluate the impact of adding a cultural literacy component to its curriculum, hiring practices, and staff expectation. Mindful of the dazzling mosaic that is our city, the board's policy still remains to be stewards of the educational process that guides our scholars, regardless of their national origin, religion, race, sexual orientation, or gender. Our policy still envisions a, quote, no student left behind, unquote, goal.
And I believe the author wanted to take out the word dazzling.
Yeah.
Thank you. You did say dazzling. Okay, so board members, you got a choice. We can either add the paragraph for that was submitted or the one that's there. I'm going to ask to poll the board which one you prefer. Does anybody have a question or a problem with that? Yes, Mr. Levenstein.
So I'm okay with either one, but I just have a comment on both. On the first item 3, do we need prohibited by law as something we don't tolerate, racism or any other form of discrimination? Does it have to be prohibited by law for us not to tolerate it?
Mr. Shaw?
The issue is being clear enough so that people are on notice. Now, the prohibited by law takes in an entire class of categories for discrimination that has been growing over time in New York under the human rights law. So this then becomes a catch-all consistent with the human rights law. In the alternative proposal, there are certain aspects of discrimination that are mentioned, but not all of them that are in the human rights law.
I understand, but by what you just said is things get added all the time that are prohibited by law. That's correct. Mm-hmm. So the way this is written is we're okay with it until the state decides to prohibit it, that particular discrimination. I think we shouldn't tolerate it. Any discrimination, whether or not it's prohibited by law. That's my only statement on.
But there are forms of discrimination where what is at issue is a good thing. You know, discrimination isn't always negative, but there are certain things that are considered discriminatory by law for which there are remedies. You know, that's why the reference is there as such.
Okay, and the other comment on Mr. Walker's, I'm fine with that being replacing item 3. I just think that the board's 3 purposes are evaluating the superintendent, which number 1 is clear, fiduciary duty, which number 2 is clear. I just don't know if our responsibility of creating policies is clear. I think maybe a word or two may need to be added, and then I'm fine with that particular version if we go with that, because policies is our third important thing that we need to do.
So, Mr. Walker, do you have a comment you'd like to share?
Yes. The only reason that I specified these biases, for want of a better term, was because I thought racism has become a pejorative. It doesn't mean anything anymore. It's too broad. And it was just listed, I listed them to give an idea. It is not limited to that. You could do combinations of that. I went on the ADL website. There was a website that dealt with whether or not the Holocaust was real, NAACP, a number of gay sites, and the DOJ. And they specify many, many times over what I put in to try to make it clear about people who might be affected by this, and that is the word bias or hatred simply doesn't come, because sometimes it's a mental illness. That's all.
Thank you. Can you turn off your mic, please? Thank you. So right now, what we're going to, yes, Mr. Howard?
Thank you, Madam President. Like I said, I can go with both, but I think that one key component of Mr. Walker's item, I think we should change second paragraph, mindful of the mosaic that is our city. We are a district of it's not a city. When we're a city, we're limiting the town of Newburgh and the town of New Windsor, and we're known as an enlarged school district. So if that could be changed to a dazzling mosaic, that is our district as opposed to city. And I like both of them, actually, with those changes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to poll the board, and you're going to either choose the first item, which is written and was on the agenda, or the second item. So, Mr.
Point of order.
Yes?
Right now on the floor is 4.1, 1 through 3. So if we want to change something, somebody has to make a motion and a second to then amend what's on the floor, ma'am. We can't just pull the board like that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. So, do I have a motion to amend this resolution?
So moved.
Roll call to amend.
I think you need to state what the amendment is.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Is the amendment the whole thing Mr. Walker submitted? Is that what Mr. Howard, you put on the floor and was seconded by Mr. Lamar. What are you putting on the floor, Mr. Howard?
1, 2, 3, and then you have this.
To have that one replace the other one?
Replacement.
With the changes.
So you want to replace what's on
Also,
there?
the changes is, first of all, he said he wanted dazzling out.
Turn his microphone on.
He said he wanted dazzling out and change from city to district. With those changes.
So explain what we're doing or amending.
Is that instead of 3, or is it in addition to 3?
Well, like I said, I like both of them. In addition to 3 would be too verbose. I think it's too much. Because a lot of it is almost restated in other forms. What you're saying, he said in a different way. So replace with the changes.
So he wants to replace. So this vote would replace number 3 with the item that we just read.
Minus dazzling, and district would replace the word city.
Okay? So everybody understands. So this is what's going to happen. Number 3 up there is going to be wiped off, and we're going to add that other piece that was submitted by Mr. Walker, minus dazzling, and change city to district. Okay? Roll call.
This is on the amendment.
This is to amend.
Mr. Stridiron.
No.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Duray.
Yes.
Mr. Howard.
Yes.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Levenstein.
Yes.
Ms. Mineo.
No.
That amendment passes.
Okay. So now we have to, I need a resolution. I'd like to change a motion, please.
Point of order. So now you just need roll call as amended.
Okay. So roll call as amended.
Mr. Stridiron, Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Duray.
Yes.
Mr. Howard.
Yes.
Mr. Lamar.
Yes.
Mr. Levenstein.
Yes.
Ms. Mineo.
Yes?
Mr. Stridiron.
No.
That item passes as amended.
Okay, so now we're at item 4.3, which is a review of 1900 parent and community engagement. This item is on the floor for any board comments or suggestions, because we started to discuss this in policy, and we'd like to hear if anybody has any comments on it. Is that true, Mr. Forget?
Madam President, this is a policy that is required to be reviewed on an annual basis. We did review this. We did not see any changes. It seems to be appropriate with the regulations from the state. So we recommend no changes. However, we have to have it documented that we reviewed it because it is a requirement to be reviewed on an annual basis. So this is our way of having a document of review.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to move on to board committees. Ms. Green isn't here, so we're going to miss her curriculum and instruction. So we're going to move on to policy committee. Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Madam President.
We'll do it next time.
Policy Committee met, and two of the resolutions that we discussed were voted on at this meeting just prior to me taking the microphone. And that was a resolution to adopt policy on first reading, 0115, student bullying prevention and intervention. We also had a conversation around parent and community engagement, which Mr. Forger just discussed. And we had a conversation in regards to the resolution to approve disaster management. And we also talked about the resolution to approve GAMS high-tech magnet school change. And we had a conversation around New York State Boards Association Essential Policy Manual.
Thank you. Could you also talk about the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee that was held today?
Yes. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee met today prior to the board meeting. We had a conversation around the definition, defining what diversity, equity, and inclusion looks like and what we want to, how we want to model it in our district. We talked about putting those definitions on our website, but also talking about the fluidity of the definition of diversity. It was a very verbose definition, and we want to massage it and bring it down and make it short, a little shorter than it was. But it was verbose. It was from the state education website, but we want to chop it down a little bit. And we had conversation also in regards to the work of the diversity, equity, and inclusion team and how we want that to look from a committee perspective. And it's a work in progress and something that it's new to our district, it's new to the board, and I think it's something that's going to be very pertinent and touch all aspects of what we do in our district. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going to add one thing that you forgot. We had a teacher come and talk to us about his lesson, his lessons with his students, it was absolutely magnificent how he brought everything together about having the kids do a financial literacy project, and it was just so good. These little 10-year-olds were so thoughtful and so just complete in their thinking about how creating a budget for living in the city in Newburgh, how they could live on a certain amount of money, and it was amazing the things they came up with. It was really good. Go ahead.
Yes, Madam President, I apologize. You're absolutely right. That was a highlight of the meeting, but I wasn't prepared to report out on the diversity. You caught me off guard, but that was the highlight of the meeting. The report from Mr. McCallum. And that report from 10-year-olds, it was incredible, talking about preparing a budget and also how to tie that in to culturally relevance in our district with our curriculum and having to see the differences, how children can see the differences of the have-nots, or how to actually adjust the budget with the vocabulary that they use. It was incredible. So I apologize for that.
No, that was great. Sorry, I put you on the spot. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Secondary, Dr. Farrell.
Thank you, Madam President. I have items 6.1 through 6.6 for your consideration.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? Yes, sir.
6.5, please.
Anyone else? I'd like to entertain a motion on 6.1 through 6.6 minus 6.5. Questions or discussion on those items? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Walker? Yes. Mr. Doré? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Let's move on to item 6.5. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Yes, Mr. Stridiron.
Could someone just give some details as to what this person is going to be doing and who they report to?
Yes, I will defer to Dr. Peterson, as this is a technology appointment.
It's Ms. Peterson.
Ms. Peterson, my apologies.
So Mrs. Bartash is a retired member of the Mid-Hudson Regional Information System. This year, the Data and Reporting Services team has onboarded 3 new individuals that deal with our state reporting. So she will be providing training and also really working on our UAIS report, which is a report that we have to do annually in terms of students moving in and out of district, and it's a specialized report. So the majority of her work will be training and making sure the team is up to speed on state reporting for our over 11,000 plus students.
Any other questions? And she'll be reporting to whom?
She'll be reporting to me and scheduling training sessions with me, and I'll be scheduling it with Dr. Coit and the information team.
Any other questions? Roll call on 6.5, please.
Mr. Doré? Yes. Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar? Yes. Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
That concludes my portion of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Exceptional Learners, Mr. Bayer.
Thank you, Madam President. Exceptional Learners has 2 items, 7.1 and 7.2 for the board's consideration.
I'd like to entertain, would any member like to separate out any of those items? I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar? Yes. Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Beneo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Yes. Mr. Doré?
Thank you. That includes my items.
Thank you, Mr. Baer. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Finance, Ms. Roaring.
Thank you, Madam President. This evening, the Finance Division presents items 8.1 to 8.7.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Questions or discussion? Yes, Mr. Levinstein, and then Mr. Stridiron.
So I just have a question, just to be clear for everyone. 8.6, the change order for the NFA CTE, is a credit that is coming back to the district, correct? Normally, we associate change orders with an expense that comes, but this is a credit, correct?
This is, in fact, a credit. The total contract value came in under the board's original award, so we are receiving those funds back.
Thank you.
Mr. Stridiron?
So I have a question on 8.7 with CS Arch. This expenditure for redesign at Heritage, is that going to be paid for with the capital bond, or is that coming from another source?
That will be paid for from the capital bond.
And how much is this cost for redesigning Heritage?
So I do want to be clear on what their scope is. It's going to be looking at the traffic patterns and congestion that have been a concern at that site for some time. That's the only scope that they're going to be doing. It's separate and distinct from the contract that we have with CPL for the other scope of work at Heritage, which includes the addition to the cafeteria and the HVAC work.
And how much is this contract for, or proposal?
It's approximately $150,000.
What's the final product? What will we get for $150,000?
They are to provide us with a designed solution and oversee the construction of that work.
So this proposal covers design, representation at the state, and any changes to the plans that could come from meeting with the state?
It covers design, it covers representation with the state, and any changes to the plans after it's submitted to the state audit is always a negotiation.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Levinstein.
But I think that the district allocated funds in addition to that 150,000 for work that hopefully will squeeze in that budget, but we don't know. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe it was back in June, the board agreed to set aside $2.5 million. The fee is inclusive in that $2.5 million, so we're looking for a solution that's less.
Thank you.
Any other questions on finance items? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Ms. Roaring. We're going to move on to our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Mr. McLemore.
Thank you, Madam President. On the Human Resources agenda, I have items 9.1 through 9.19 for your consideration on tonight.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? Yes, sir.
9.2, please.
Any other items separate out? I'd like to entertain a motion on 9.1 through 9.19, with the exception of 9.2. Questions or discussion on those items? Mr. Levinstein and then Mr. Stridiron.
So the question I have is on 9.17, which is the after-school program, and it's listed for 5 schools. I'm sorry, yeah, well, one is before school too, but after school for additional help with students. So my question is, are the other schools, did they already have this? Are they going forward with it? Are we waiting for staff, or what's the reason why it wouldn't be all the schools?
Ms. Moriarty.
Thank you, Madam President. The other 4 elementary schools have 21st Century, so this is for the schools that didn't have any offerings for after-school program, so that we could have all 9 of the K-5 buildings have after-school program. And Fostertown opted to have, instead of have 4 days of after-school, they opted to have 2 mornings before school and 2 afternoons.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Stridiron, you have a question?
I have a question on 9.4, the abolishing of the literacy tech specialist. Can you just describe what that position was, and was it effective?
Mr. McLemore, can you describe what the abolished position was?
Thank you, Madam President. So that position was a somewhat of a tech-type position, a coaching position. No one is in that position, so we won't have to worry about any abolishments or layoffs at all. But it was like a coaching position at GAMS.
The only reason I bring this up is it talks about literacy. And if our focus is on literacy and we're abolishing any help that we could have for literacy, I just hope that we could keep this position, or at least bring it back in the next budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the bulk of the items? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
We're going to move on to item 9.2. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion? Yes, sir.
The only thing I'm going to say is I'm just going to be voting no on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
No.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lamar?
No.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
That item passes. That concludes my items, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. We're going to move on now to the clerk of the board, Mr. McCoy. Oh, hi. By the way, we just made a motion. That's our new clerk.
teacher, too.
Okay, great. And we also have a new English teacher, Daniel Valentine. Welcome to both of you.
We have an assistant superintendent.
And now we have a new assistant superintendent. Congratulations. Wow, this has been some night. We're going to move on to the clerk of the board, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I have items 10.1 and 10.2 on consent.
Would any member like to separate out any item? I'd like to entertain a motion, please. Questions or discussion?
That's why we love it.
Roll call.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Yes. Mr. DeRay? Yes. Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Yes. Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Mineo?
Yes. Go ahead.
That concludes my items, Madam President.
Try to cut you off. So before we adjourn, Thanksgiving is a holiday that originates from the Native American philosophy of giving without expecting anything in return. So on Thursday, I encourage you to give thanks for all that you have. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting, please. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Walker? Yes. Mr. DeRay? Yes. Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar? Yes. Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Mineo?
Yes.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Thank you and good evening.